Hi, I'm Bruce Weinstein, and this is the YouTube channel Cooking with Bruce and Mark. Mark Scarbrough is not on camera today, it's me, but the two of us do a deep dig into strange and wonderful foods. Today, I have a very small thing in front of me, but it is full of so much fabulous flavor. This is what we're going to do, a deep dig into 23 flavor chili oil. Now, chili oil is chili oil, right? No. When you go to a Chinese restaurant, there's often a little jar of very red chili oil there, and it's delicious, and it gives you heat, and it adds fieriness to food. Take a look at this. You'll notice that this isn't red. This is orange. How did I get it orange? Well, that's a combination of chilies and all sorts of herbs and spices that we're going to put in to give a complexity to this oil that can't be beat. We're going to use spices and herbs that you're very familiar with, that are in your pantry, that you cook and bake with. But we're also going to go and use herbs from Chinese medicine, not for medicinal purposes, but for the flavor they'll impart, for the bitterness, the astringency, and the color. We're going to create together an oil that has a complexity and nuance that you just can't beat. I wasn't kidding when I said this is a 23 flavor oil and everything is in front of me. So I want to go through what all these spices and herbs and flavorings are. So I want to start with the fresh produce that goes into this 23 flavor chili oil. And that starts with scallions, a very common produce put in a lot of Chinese cooking. I have a small bunch, or about 50 grams of scallions that I cut into 1-inch pieces, and I'll put that in a large pot. Now, I'm using a 10-quart stock pot here. Doesn't need to be quite that big, but you'll want to use something at least 6 quarts large. Now we're going to use ginger. I have 75 grams of ginger, and I didn't peel it because this was pretty fresh ginger. If your ginger is really old and the peel's dried out, you can go ahead and peel it. All I did do was slice it because I want to get a lot of surface area of this ginger in touch with all that oil. So that's going in. Garlic. I have 50 grams of fresh garlic cloves. That's about 6 to 8 cloves depending upon the size of your cloves. You want to crush them a little bit, just again, surface area. It's all about getting surface area of these herbs and spices in touch with the oil. So in goes the garlic. Now, I've got a bowl here filled with a lot of common spices. These are spices you probably have in your pantry, spices that you use all the time. We have nutmeg. I had 2 whole nutmeg cloves that you can find in your supermarket. I just crushed them lightly, again, for surface area. We have whole cloves. I've got 1 tablespoon or 10 grams of whole cloves in here. I have fennel seeds. I have 10 grams or 2 tablespoons of whole fennel seeds. I have cumin, a 1/4 cup of cumin seeds, not ground cumin, and that's 25 grams. Allspice berries. I have 2 tablespoons or 10 grams of allspice berries. That's the common ingredients that are going in here. Now we have bay leaves, another common ingredient, a lot of them. 2 grams of bay leaves, about 20 leaves are going in. And cinnamon sticks. I have 3 whole cinnamon sticks. They're about 10 centimeters, 4 inches long each, and they're going in. The other common ingredient that you have at home is sugar. And I've got 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of sugar. Why is sugar going in chili oil? Because sugar has a way of balancing everything and softening flavors and blending things together. That's why a few drops of a simple sugar syrup in a cocktail often blend all the different flavors that go into a cocktail. So that's what goes in there. Now we're going to get to the more unusual spices. We have dried orange peel. Something very, very common in Sichuan cooking. In fact, there's some towns in that part of China where they're just known for their oranges. They don't even eat the fruit. They're peeled, the peels are dried in the sun, and we're using about 1/4 cup of these crushed up, or about 20 grams. Now we have gardenia fruit, also called Cape jasmine. And gardenia fruit, we're using about 20 grams or 12 of them. I've crushed them up. These are often used as a dye, actually. They give off whatever they come in contact with, water, oil, a beautiful yellowy orange color. Together with the chilies, they're going to give this chili oil an amazing, beautiful orange color. Now we have some star anise. Star anise is also very common in a lot of cooking of Asia, and it also goes into root beer. If you watch Mark's deep dig into root beer, you'll see that he used star anise in that as well. I have 10 pods, or about 10 grams. Now we're going to get into the more Chinese medicine herbs. They're the flavors that are going to give this oil some bitterness, some astringency, and we're not necessarily using them for any of the health-related qualities that Chinese medicine does. We're using them for their flavor. Dongquai, also called female ginseng. It's a root, it's very thin. It's called female ginseng because in traditional Chinese medicine, it's often prescribed to women who are having menstrual cramps or other problems. So that's going in. Now we have 10 grams of lesser galangal. Why is it lesser galangal? Because it's smaller than typical galangal, which is often called greater galangal. Lesser galangal often grown in China, greater galangal in other parts of Southeast Asia. This also will give it an orange tint and give it a lovely earthiness underneath the chilies. That goes in. We have black cardamom pods. These are smoky and deep. Again, we crushed them open so that all the seeds would come in contact with the oil. We have 10 grams, or about 7 of them. In the same family as the black cardamom, we have this amomum, or camphor seed. It's kind of like a cardamom pod. Inside seeds are similar. We have 2 tablespoons, or 10 grams. It's actually very pungent and a little astringent, and it gives a great blend to all these other herbs going in here. We have sand ginger. We have about 6 small pieces, or 10 grams. Sand ginger is a little bitter, also a little astringent, in the same rhizome family as regular ginger, but it gives us another level of complexity, adding it along with all the other roots. Now comes the heat. Finally, we are making a chili oil, even though it is 23 flavored chili oil. Let's start with the Sichuan peppercorns. There are 2 kinds. There are red and there are green, and they're not actually peppercorns at all. They're a member of the citrus family, and they're the husk of the seed. Really good quality Sichuan peppercorns won't have any of the seeds at all. It'll just be these husks. And I'm using both red and green. I've got 25 grams, or 6 tablespoons of the red Sichuan peppercorns, and I have 10 grams, or 2 tablespoons of the green. The reds are bright and citrusy. The greens are a little piney, but what they both do is they have a numbing quality. When you eat these, your lips, the pieces of your tongue, the cheeks, wherever it touches this will get numb and tingly, which is really quite amazing. And now the chilies for the chili oil. I'm using 2 kinds of chilies. I'm using a chili called Erjingtao chili, and if you click more below this video, you'll have a list of all the ingredients. You can see how that's spelled when you go to look for it. It is the darling chili of Sichuan, the most popular chili. It's actually not the hottest chili. It's actually very fruity. This is what it looks like before it's ground up. Long, but not too long, thin red chilies. I'm just going to throw those in whole. I only had them out to show you. The rest I crushed up in a food processor. And also, I'm using some latern chilies. You can see the shape, like little lanterns. These are not as fruity, but they're very hot. I have a total of 5 cups of chilies. That's 150 grams. Now, I put these chilies in a food processor, not to make a powder, but just to make a coarse grind. Again, more of the herbs and chilies that are in contact with the oil, the better flavor we're going to have. Okay, this is called chili oil. 3 liters of a neutral flavored oil. This is canola oil. You could use soybean oil, vegetable oil. I wouldn't use corn oil because actually corn oil can sometimes have a corn taste, and definitely don't use peanut oil or sesame oil. A very neutral oil. And 3 liters go in. When we make chili oil, we often heat up oil till it's very hot, and we pour it over ground chilies, and it all sizzles and gets crazy, and it infuses its heat quickly, and then we use that right away on top of noodles. This is different. Because I have all these other flavors, I'm going to put this on a very low heat, and I'm going to bring this up to the barest simmer, and I'm going to actually let it not get above 210 degrees. You can use a candy thermometer, but you will see that as it starts to cook, little bubbles will come up around the fresh ingredients, around the ginger, around the garlic, around the scallions. And that's showing that it's almost at a boil, and but it's not quite frying. The difference is I'm simmering these herbs into the oil. I'm not frying them. And once this comes to a simmer, I'm going to let it go, stirring occasionally for about 1 hour. At that point, I'll turn it off and I'll let this mixture cool and steep covered at room temperature for 2 days. Then we'll strain it and we'll see what we have. This is a pot of 23 flavor chili oil that I set to a simmer 2 days ago. And this one has now cooled and infused, and actually everything except the amomum and the bay leaves sink, and it becomes a paste on the bottom. Oh, this is quite amazing. So now I want to strain this out. I'm sure you've seen chili oils come in the store with a layer of chili paste on the bottom. I love those kind, but what's down at the bottom of that mostly is just chili. There may be a few that have bits of shallot or garlic. There's a very famous paste called Spicy Chili Crisp, and that has ginger and scallions and garlic, but it doesn't have the hard spices. It doesn't have chunks of nutmeg and chunks of star anise in the bottom. So I'm going to strain all this out because we're making an oil here that is a condiment just by itself, and it doesn't need any other flavors. So I have a strainer and I have a bottle, and I am going to see what happens when we pour some of this through. Oh, look at the color of that. That is an amazing orange. That is a combination of the red from the chilies and the yellow from the gardenia fruit. And I'm just going to let this all drain out. This is going to take quite a few rounds to get it all down. We did have 3 liters of oil. So I'm actually going to take this away. I just wanted you to see how amazing that looks. This is a chili oil that is a dressing on its own without the need of vinegar, without the need of soy sauce. If you're having dumplings that you made yourself, that were frozen, that you ordered in, you don't need the dumpling sauce that comes from the Chinese restaurant. You need a little drizzle of this chili oil. If you grill a whole fish, a drizzle of this chili oil. If you're having a burger, a little bit of this chili oil either on the burger or on the bun before you grill it is an amazing thing. Melt it with a little butter to dip lobster in. It's an absolutely fabulous condiment. I hope you'll make this great, wonderful 23 flavor chili oil and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cooking with Bruce and Mark, and you won't miss a single deep dig into that Mark and I do. And look below and you'll get all the ingredients. Click more info below this video and you will see this entire recipe. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast of the same name, Cooking with Bruce and Mark.